I'm Kevin Crawford from Kevin Crawford Consulting, and welcome to the Executive Mirror. Welcome to Executive Mirror. Rolly, I understand that you have a question for me.
I have a question, Kevin, for you. Given your experience, as a fire chief, city manager, you were on site at Katrina, 9/11. Most people don't have that experience whatsoever. How has that informed you in helping other executives? And their crisis may not be the same as a first responder, but they have a lot of crisis. And how has that helped you inform them to maybe navigate their crisis?
Yes. Interesting question. I've often thought that I've always been in this emergency response vein. Certainly back when I was a paramedic firefighter and then fire chief, et cetera, there was, you were responding to emergencies and you were, as one colleague used to say, making the bad stuff go away. That's what we did. Well, it's kind of the same thing here in this new role as an executive advisor. I come into times of crisis or significant disruption. So maybe they're not quite to the level of a crisis, but a significant disruption, which can be the changing of a CEO. It can be the company's been bought, sold. It can be, an economic downturn. It can be a whole host of things. But it causes a disruption in the workplace and needs to bring some stability to that. And so it's really not that much different than what I did when I was, early days of being a first responder, a firefighter. And you have to come in and survey what's going on. Okay. And oftentimes what the executive feels is going on or believes is going on is really not what is going on. So just like in those days of firefighting, you come in and you assess the situation. Okay. You don't get yourself overcommitted. You stop, you look at it all, you take it all in, figure out what you can make decisions on now. Okay. Down the road, there's going to be new data, new information that you have to respond to. But right now, this is what I know. And then I establish just a nice, simple framework. Okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And it's very limited to just maybe 3 things. I don't like to go over that because it gets too confusing. Right. It gets confusing for me, let alone the poor executive, right? So we assess, we prioritize, and then we deploy the resources to make it go away. And the resources might not be anything more than just helping the CEO recognize that, okay, in this situation, you should do this and this and this and this. Yeah. And in this situation, let's just let that sit on the sideline for a while. This other issue, let's address it this way. But here's the interesting thing. They usually know what to do. Right. Oftentimes, I don't know what they should do. I just bring order to it. And that's really the big thing. And I give them space to bring forth the brilliance that's already in their mind. Right,
right. So you really allow them to, as we've been talking about, get their thoughts on the table to really assess the situation. So you said that's number one, assess, to look at the kind of priority, what do you need to do, not more than 2 or 3 things. And then also the other part about resources. And we talked about this idea of, and I think for an executive, for a leader, this is where certainty is really important. We talked about, uncertainty, but, I have a plan and it can't be more than 3 points. And I think what happens for people, they go, they take a deep breath, and some of that internal crisis, somebody is in charge here and we have a plan and I don't have to think about it. We've talked a lot about thinking, and I think for people in those situations, they just want to follow the plan. The leader, the executive team is establishing it, and now we're just going to execute.
Right. The organization is looking to the leader to do just that.
Yeah.
the organization doesn't necessarily have expectations of the specifics of what's going to get done.
Right.
They just want to be able to put trust and confidence and certainty in the individual at the top of the organization has a plan and has thought through it, and he well communicates it, or she well communicates it. The real art isn't so much in the communicating it down to the organization. That's pretty easy, but it's getting that leader to stop and do some real pointed, systematic kind of thinking, systematic evaluation of the issues, and moving away from, and this is so critical, moving away from the day-to-day operations. They're locked in the day-to-day operations. They want to continue with that, and they want to force those systems on top of a crisis, and they don't work. They don't work. You got to completely throw that out, bring in a new system. Assess, establish 3 objectives, 2 or 3 objectives, figure out a way to measure them, deploy the resources, and reevaluate. So it's kind of like wash, rinse, repeat.
And I think the evaluation part, what's worked, what didn't work, the AAR, after action reviews, after the crisis, to be able to do that. So that's critical in what you're saying. And hopefully, leaders will be able to see some of these key steps that you're saying. And that's the time that the leader does need to step in and have a plan and be made more assertive. I mean, so there's a situational leadership. If it's a crisis that you've dealt with, that's when you need to step in and say, here's what we're doing, here's the plan. Other non-crisis situations, you can get everybody involved. You don't have to make a decision as much. So that situational leadership, when am I in tell mode? When am I in consult and co-create mode?
Well, there's what generally considered 6 different styles of leadership, right?
Yeah.
And that heavy command and control, top down, dogmatic, this is where we're going, and we're going there now. The number of times I've had to use that is very, very, very small. Obviously on the fire ground or in a situation like that, I have to. But even after those orders are given, the rest of the space is taken up with a felicitation and team building, and everybody gets an input on this kind of thing, because everybody's got to feel comfortable with what you're doing. So oftentimes we lean on, especially in these difficult times, on that command and control, top down, heavy direction. Boy, there's just a very slim time where that's most important.
So if you had to say, even in your experience as a fire chief, first responder, what % of time was command and control?
Oh my goodness.
You had to give a number to it.
Under 1%.
Really? That's kind of surprising, because you think...
But when the sky is on fire, a lot is riding on it.
Right. And so that's where the first responder, who's there, who's in charge, what's happening. But you're saying that that's not typical for the people that we're dealing with in organizations.
It is not.
So it's inappropriate to have that be their main command and control style.
And a lot of times they can't switch. They think a style is something to be adhered to 24/7. And every day that they come into work, and every encounter that they have with somebody. And they're just doing so much damage to the organization. So much damage. There's those rare times. And I would say outside of emergency response, there's probably even less. Right?
Exactly.
Because people are not dying. The building's not going to burn down. Okay? Maybe these are significant decisions, because we're talking about market share. We're talking about, the value of the company, et cetera. But there is a perspective that you can bring to this thing. So it's not that critical, but what's most important is that you connect with your people. Your most important role is connecting with the people and getting the best out of them. And that's why I'm tied to my personal definition of leadership, and that is that it's this realistic or authentic expression of me that enhances or improves somebody's performance, or their belief in what they can do. Mm-hmm. It's all about people connecting with people.
That's beautiful.
For more information, contact Kevin, CrawfordConsulting.com.